What's going on, guys? iMakeMcVids here, and today I am going to be explaining why I got fired from Faithful, and I am going to be explaining literally everything that went on during the 2 months I was back. Now, first let me say I did not leave. I planned on being at Faithful long term, and this caught me by surprise when I first received the news that I was being fired on Christmas. This video is going to explain my experience with Killa, the server, and it's going to be broken into multiple parts, speaking about my contract, fortune, my ideas, and even about the server spoofing. First, we are going to talk about my contract. Many people may believe that I would have signed one. I wanted to, and Killa said that he wanted to as well. We agreed that it would be best for us to sign a contract. For him, assurance I wouldn't leave the server, and for me, it was assurance that I would be paid even if the server went down. All of you should know that Faithful went down previously, so Killa and I agreed that if the server was to go down, I would be paid 6 months after it went down with full payment. I was also assured that I would be here for a long time, which we will go into later in the video. So after I left Viper, and from the time I was fired at Faithful on Christmas, I brought up to him multiple times about the contract, and he would always brush it off and say he was transitioning to a new lawyer. The first time I mentioned the contract in our Telegram messages was a day before joining the network. This was not the first time we had spoke about a contract. This is the first time he told me he was transitioning to a new lawyer, and it would be delivered after the first month. The next screenshot is 9 days later, where I asked him again for a contract, and he said it would not be done for another month or so, but it will be. The next screenshot is 17 days later on November 30th, and he completely disregards the contract and says he would like to speak tomorrow about Minecraft sales. The final time I mentioned a contract was the day he lowered my pay on December 6th, and I will speak more about him lowering my pay later in the video. I know I should have got a contract completed before I joined the network, and that was completely my fault, but it doesn't change the fact what he did was wrong. Now we are on to the next topic, the plan on being at the server long term. When I first came back, one of his main concerns was that he wanted me to tell players that I would be here for a long time. He told me to tweet out and say to my video specifically, I'm back in here to stay. He wanted to make sure that players would be comfortable buying both my kits in my loot boxes so that they would know they were not wasting their money. Because the last time I was here, they removed my kit when I left. So he literally had me tell my fans that I would be here for a long time, and not even 2 months later, he fires me, and all the people that bought my kit, it's now useless. Now let's talk about Killa's prison server Fortune that released while I was owner at Faithful, and I was supposed to be partner on Fortune. Around the first time he brought it up, and me being a partner, I was partner on Outlands and was supposed to be working with Bro's prison server. Killa told me that he highly recommended choosing Fortune over the other servers. He said it was 100% the better server, and we had been working together for a year now. I decided to go ahead and go with Killa's offer, and I left Outlands and Noah's server to do Fortune and Faithful 100% of the time. We agreed to the deal, and then he told me that he was going to delay until next week, so I had to end up finding another server to upload on in the meantime for my extra video that week, because he did not want me to do an extra HCF video. Fortune released the next week, and I had just finished my HCF content, and I did my intro for my Fortune video, and before recording more, I had some questions for Killa. I wanted to know if he would allow me to do a giveaway, and if he wanted me to advertise the Discord. It was late at night, so I didn't know if he would be on, and I was just going to wait until the next day to record. The next day, he informed me that he would not be able to pay me the amount he promised after encouraging me to leave the other networks where I was being paid the same and in some cases better. He told me to then try and go back to Outlands after I left Fortune. He wanted me to go back to the network I left for his Fortune if they wanted to take me back, which is funny because he also did that with Viper. So after that ended up happening, I had to go again and find a video to upload for Wednesday because I just got screwed out of more content. And I'm now not with Outlands or Noah's server. So with the new Christmas update around the corner, he wanted me and Monica, an admin on Faithful, also my girlfriend, to come up with owner item ideas. She came up with a bunch of new things Christmas related to add to my owner loot box. He ended up using these ideas, but not on my crate. He created a new one called the Xmas crate, which I don't get a percent of like the owner loot box. He told us that we would have to think of new ideas to add to my crate because he added the Christmas themed ones to his own. Now both crates cost the exact same, but just look at the difference. His crate has vouchers and our items, but my crate has the old items and just looks unprofessional. He legitimately stole our ideas that were supposed to go into my crate, which I get percent of revenue of, and instead of doing that, he created his own with our items. Now let's talk about the countless hours I put into fixing his server, rather it be new ideas or previous issues. Each start of the world, I would come up with a list of issues, which would include problems with the server or new ideas I thought should be added. So the first month I was here, each week I would come up with a list and we would try to go over it in TeamSpeak together. It got to the point where it was so long that we stopped using TeamSpeak and we had everything saved in a Google Doc, and it was supposed to be added for the Christmas update. I had many issues with how the gameplay was and just standard issues that every player would have that played the network. We finally got to talk to each other on December 3rd, and we sat in TeamSpeak for over 3 hours going over all the new additions to the server. We had a Google Doc of everything we were going to add, which included changes to kits, pearls, and my new mob spawner idea. This was the final time we spoke in TeamSpeak. We were supposed to speak for the last 2 weeks before the Christmas update about the crate revamp and other stuff that I wanted to add, but we just never got in TeamSpeak. He could never find time to do it. This is the same day he lowered my pay. Before we went over all this information, he informed me that he would want to lower the amount I was getting per video. I was obviously against this, but what choice did I have? This was also why I asked about the contract again on December 6th. He said I was the first owner, partner, or YouTuber he has ever had set in TeamSpeak with him and go over changes to the server for that long and put in that much effort into it. Now with all the changes to the server, which include crates, pearls, leaderboard, the spawn, the spawners, the loot boxes, he fired me on Christmas, which was a day before releasing our huge update. Hey Connor, I was gonna wait until after Christmas to message you, but I figured you'd want to know ASAP. Faithful has not performed as well with your influence as I had predicted when we brought you back to the server a few months ago. For that reason, I cannot justify paying you the rate we agreed to when we partnered you for the relaunch going forward. I'm afraid we're gonna have to part ways. When we partnered you last year, you drew many more players to the server than you have these past few months. I thought that you were going to get the similar numbers this time around, but the player count and sales didn't pan out. I understand how frustrated you must feel reading this, but the server is not doing well as we both probably had hoped, with you as the main partner. I will of course pay you at the rate you agreed through the end of the month for the rest of the videos. Thank you again for the partnership these past few months. It's just unfortunate that our partnership has underperformed both our expectations. So we sat in TeamSpeak for hours. I came up with all these ideas. I fixed his entire server and told him what needed and should be changed for a better experience on Faithful. And he fired me before it even came out. He said, no hard feelings, Connor. Look at your channel a year ago and now. There's a reason why you brought so much more influence back then. I explained myself before then. He said he should have waited until tomorrow and good night. He left me on red for the rest of the night. The next day, which is the day of release, he didn't message me until there was a problem on the server. Then he finally addressed the partnership. He asked if I found a new one, and then he said he would ask Viper to take me back, and if I saw the statistics, I would understand. Yet the funny thing is, I saw the statistics because he would show me them and he literally changed his mind each week. This was my first 2 days at Faithful. He said he knows the numbers are good, but I think we can do better. We literally made $1,000 in 2 days just off of my kits and loot box sales. He literally admitted the numbers are good. A week after SOTW, he sent me a player draft, including last week and this week, comparing my return to the return of the entire network, which obviously the return of the network would get more players as it's been down for so long and the hype is coming back. Funny thing is, we did similar. If not, I did better the week that I came, but he still expects more. Then the next week, on Thanksgiving Day, he sends me a graph and it shows how much better we did with me being there multiple days and advertising for a full week. He seemed very happy with the player count and with the sales as seen before. Yet now, after he fired me, he claims the sales aren't good and he can't pay me what I'm demanding. Yet we sold $1,000 in 2 days just from my items, which I was getting like 25% from. He just keeps changing his mind if the server underperforms one week, but does good the next. In conclusion, I honestly think he wanted to take my ideas, get extra players for my name, boost his server sales with the return of my kit and loot box, tricking my fans into thinking that it would be okay to purchase them because I would be here a long term, and screwing me over with my partnership at Viper knowing I can't go back there. I just really think it's crazy the fact he would fire me on Christmas Day before our huge update even released. He added all of our ideas and he never even revamped my crate. He just added his crate with my items. So now onto the spoofing at Faithful. I honestly did not know he spoofed until after I was fired. I had some suspicions because of what everyone says, and I even confronted him at one point when I was an owner. After I was fired, I went to Cave PvP to speak with Simply Trash. He is my friend and he helps me with my merch that I plan on releasing soon, hint hint. He also was a part of Faithful previously, and I told him what happened. I was in TeamSpeak with them and we were going through all of my messages and what happened, and he noticed that I asked him about spoofing. Sheepkiller, an owner at Cave, told me a command I could run at Faithful that would show the direct player count instead of using /list or /who. Now this command only works if you have op. So what this command does, it scans all the players on the server to see if they have alts connected to their IP that have been banned. It shows how many players is on the server, as you can see, scanning 6 players. But in this screenshot specifically, and in all the other ones I'm going to be showing you in this video, I did /list, which is supposed to show you how many players are on the server, and then I did /IP report. But in this screenshot, I decided to do /message so you can see how it works. It scans all the players on Faithful other than the person running the command. As you can see, when I do /message in tab, it shows 7 names. It would show 6 if it didn't include mine, but on /list, it says there's 14 people online. So just in case you don't believe me with that screenshot, I have a ton. These first screenshots were a day before start of the world. This was on Kitmap at 7:30 p.m. 370 players on the list, and 130 real ones. This was on Kitmap at 10:40 p.m. 281 players on the list and 109 real ones. This was practice a day before, 15 players on list and 4 real ones. Who are they even going to fight? This was Kitmap at 11:30 a.m. before start of the world. 505 on the list and 157 real players. This was practice at 11:40 a.m. before start of the world. 94 on the list and 29 real players. This was CubeCore at 11:40 a.m. before start of the world. 47 on the list and 14 real players. This was 15 minutes after start of the world, 1,092 players on the list, 391 real players. This was 20 minutes after start of the world, 1,328 on the list, and 471 real players. This was 30 minutes after start of the world, 1,499 on the list, but only 541 real players. This was 35 minutes after start of the world, 1,652 on the list, but only 588 real players. This was 1 hour after start of the world, 1,651 on the list, 580 real players. This was 2 hours after start of the world, 1,650 on the list, 635 real players. This was after SOTW timer ended, 1,541 on list, 557 real players. This was at 3 p.m. on start of the world, 1,329 on list, 493 real players. This was at 4:30 p.m., 923 on list, 312 real players. This was at 5:50 p.m., 705 on list, 250 real players. This was at 6:30 p.m., 665 on list, 203 real players. This was at 8 p.m., 593 on the list, 166 real players. This was at 10 p.m., 247 on list, and 97 real players. This was at 12:30 a.m., 163 on list, and 58 real players. This was at 2 a.m., 171 on list, 56 real players. This was at 3 a.m., 156 on list, and 55 real players. Now the next day after start of the world, he had 631 on list, 261 real players. In the night of the day after start of the world, he had 173 on list and 67 real players. Now this is 2 days after start of the world, 315 on list, 127 real players. 2 days after start of the world at night, 121 on list, 51 real players. Kitmap had 153 on list and 66 real players. CubeCore had 19 on list and 7 real players. Practice had 5 on list and 1 real player. Like, actually, who is this guy going to duel? So after all this, it's safe to say that Faithful does spoof its player count. And it is also safe to say that he completely screwed me over out of my job. I do YouTube full time and this has been a huge setback. I instantly wanted to make a video as this happened, but I know I had to set back and get all the facts for you. I hope you guys watch this video with an open mind and realize what he has done, and I honestly hope that this does not happen to any other HCF YouTuber. I would not and I will not trust Killa after what he has done. If I had to redo this, I would have gotten a contract with him before I joined, and I guess I just have too much trust in people. And honestly, to make matters worse, he even announced my release before I could even tell you guys. It was posted December 31st. My last video came out the same day, but he just posted the release message saying he was letting me go before my video even came out, so I could tell you that I was leaving. Not to mention, in the Discord message, I've got a lot of people saying your demands were too high, you were asking for too much. He gave me the offer, and then he lowered my price a couple weeks before. So if he wanted to lower my price, and if it was because of I was asking for too much, wouldn't he have lowered me more before, or lowered me again, or tried to? He's just looking for excuses. So now I have a ton of people messaging me, why did you leave? Why did you leave? I didn't leave on purpose. There's a lot of people getting mad. Obviously, if you watch the entire video, I did not leave willingly. And it's just crazy because I was promised months of work and employment. I left a previous job to come to this one. This is my job, guys. I do this full time, and it's just really affected my work, and I'm sure I'll bounce back. But I just had to tell you guys what happened. And now the final thing that I want to say to Killa, or ask of him, is to now stick to your word one time and remove all of my ideas.